Nepal will head to the polls next year after an abrupt dissolution of the parliament. This comes after infighting between the country's Prime Minister K.P.Sharma Oli and members of his own party. The move has plunged the country into fresh political uncertainty. K.P.Sharma Oli pushed for a fresh mandate after the Nepal Communist Party, his own party, accused him of sidelining the party in government decisions and appointments. In a special address to the nation, the Prime Minister said that he was forced to dissolve the parliament after he learnt about a plan to move a no-confidence vote against him. Listen in. We'll get to that reaction in a bit. Fresh elections now will be held in April and May next year. The new polls come after months of clashes with Pushpa Kamal Dahal, who is a former Prime Minister and helped K.P. Sharma Oli come to power when their political parties merged in 2018. Let's break down what happened and how things have reached this point. The pair had previously clashed over their power-sharing agreement and a lack of consultation overall. The constitutional crisis started unfolding after the K.P. Sharma Oli government issued an ordinance to amend the Constitutional Council Act. This was on the 15th of December, following the Speaker's refusal to participate. President Bhandari promulgated the ordinance. On December 16, K.P. Sharma Oli agreed to withdraw the ordinance on the Constitutional Council Act. And on the 17th of December, K.P. Sharma Oli called for a meeting of the Constitutional Council and met Pushpa Kamal Dahal on the 19th of December. The very next day, on the 20th of December, an emergency cabinet meeting was summoned by K.P. Sharma Oli, where he recommended the dissolution of the parliament. Protests have broken out following this move. Protesters have been burning effigies of the Prime Minister, K.P. Sharma Oli, in several parts of the capital, Kathmandu.
जुन राष्ट्रपतिजीले यो संसद विघटन गर्नुभयो संघीय संसद यो चाहिँ नेपाली जनताले दुःख गरेर ल्याएको परिवर्तन जुन गणतन्त्र आछ त्यसलाई संस्थागत गर्ने दिशा भन्दा उल्टो दिशातर्फ हामी अगाडि बढिरहेका छौं त्यसकारण चाहिँ हामी नेपाली जनताले जसरी भए पनि यसलाई प्रतिकार गर्नुपर्छ.
Nepal's media has slammed the dissolution, criticizing K.P. Sharma Oli and the president, Bidya Devi Bhandari. A Nepalese paper, the Kathmandu Post, wrote, and I'm quoting now, "In committing an incorrigible mistake of pushing the country decades back to the old days of political instability, Prime Minister Oli and President Bhandari have together committed a grave injustice to the people of Nepal. History will never be kind to them." The Oli administration also has been accused of moving closer to China and drifting away from Nepal's traditional partner, India, since coming to power. Joining us on the broadcast is our correspondent Siddhant Sibal for more on that. Both India and China are, of course, going to be keeping a close eye on how things unfold in Nepal. Protests have broken out across Kathmandu following that abrupt dissolution of the parliament. Do we expect the move to see a legal test now?
Well, yes, a legal test is expected, and that will happen on Wednesday. The Supreme Court will decide that whether the dissolution of the parliament is something that can stand the test of constitutionality, because he's a prime minister. Of course, now, of course, the parliament has been dismissed, but a prime minister who had a majority, there was no threat to his government, but he took that decision, and there is no, in fact, provision in the constitution. The constitution, of course, just 5 years old, promulgated in 2015. But today, of course, a day after the hectic political developments in Kathmandu, he spoke to the nation, he addressed the nation, and he blamed everyone, barring himself, for the current situation in the country. In fact, he said that he was forced to take the decision, while this is something that his critics will dispute, because it looks like that it was a political infighting between the Nepal Communist Party, between the two main players, in a sense, the co-chairs, co-chair K.P.Sharma Oli and Prachanda. But by and large, criticism is also being leveled, as you just pointed out. The media has been talking about how the president just passed the request by K.P.Sharma Oli, something which is seen as a very rubber stamp decision by the president as well. So by and large, hectic political developments are expected in few days' time. In fact, the ruling party, the Nepal Communist Party, is also mulling action against K.P.Sharma Oli, and it looks like a prolonged period of political instability after many decades of hard work by the parties there to have a democratically elected government. In fact, as you just pointed out, both Beijing and New Delhi are keen on the development. They must be noting it, and the Prime Minister K.P.Sharma Oli listed his achievements when it comes to ties with India and with China and with India. He pointed out as an achievement the controversial map of Nepal, something that irked New Delhi.
Siddhant Sibul, thanks very much for the moment. We'll of course keep coming back to you as and when further updates trickle in from Kathmandu.